In a state known for its politics, it makes sense that the flagship university here in Louisiana would lead the way in offering a media in politics concentration, thanks in large part to late Professor Tim Cook. LSU's Manship School of Mass Communication has realized its goal of becoming one of the premier journalism schools with a track specifically geared towards media in politics. Dr. Jack Hamilton helped locate and recruit Dr. Tim Cook.
You know, Tim was really, and I say this without qualifications, one of the best rounded scholars in media and politics in this country.
I think LSU felt really great about that.
Political scientist Dr. Wayne Parent remembers how he was thrilled upon hearing LSU had in fact lured Tim Cook, a political science professor at Williams College, away from Massachusetts. At that time, Cook was also a visiting professor of public policy at Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government.
He had about as good a reputation as we could have hoped for. In fact, he was one of those 5 or 6 names in political communication that people knew, and we were thrilled that he was interested in the job.
Cook authored a number of books focused on the media. His first, Making Laws and Making News, a 1989 publication that describes how the interactive relationship between the press and Congress inevitably affects the news, the legislative process, and the kind of laws enacted. In 1990, Cook shared some of his thoughts on media and the government in this segment on C-SPAN.
I'm suggesting quite differently that making laws may not be counterproductive to making news, nor vice versa, that the two may be quite closely linked, and that
Cook was considered one of the most well-read professors in political science and media circles, but a lot of his knowledge about how Washington, D.C. operated was derived from his days as an assistant press secretary to U.S. Representative Donald Pease of Ohio.
Well, his work on governing with the news, I think, really tried to position political communication as a field inside the institutional paradigms of political science. Political science was very slow to recognize the importance of media, didn't know what to do with media, really. It was a variable. And I think Tim's book, more than any other work, really established that the media are an institution in this country, and that it's a governing institution. And this work, I think, will last as a classic through time. It's a super important book.
Cook came to LSU in 2001, and in no time, this highly educated man with a zest for life came to love our great state and, of course, our food.
That's one of the great things about Louisiana, all the food and drink. He went to the Omelet Festival in Abbeville, and it's like, I'd never been to the Omelet Festival. I thought I'd been to every festival possible, and he thought the Omelet Festival was the greatest thing in the world. I mean, he really embraced the culture, and whenever I see ads for the Omelet Festival, because in Abbeville they would make the world's biggest omelet, and it was a tasty omelet too. I mean, it had crawfish and all this stuff in it, and he never missed an Omelet Festival. And it's like, that's the part of that's the part of Tim that I got to know.
Cook held the Kevin P. Riley Sr. Chair in Political Communication, but regrettably, he would only have 5 short years at LSU. In 2006, Cook died at the age of 51, a life cut short too soon, but a man who left an indelible impression on his students, his university, and most of all, his colleagues.
And in a way, the celebration of Tim tonight is really a reminder for everybody out there who thinks about getting in the area of media and politics that they better be like him if we're going to move this field forward.
When you talk about news regulation and the relationship between the press and the government and Congress, the president people talk about, but in Congress, Tim Cook was the go-to guy. I mean, he's the guy that knew that stuff and knew it really well.
I think about Tim often, and not just because of the contributions of his scholarship, but just because of what a bright person he is in all senses of the term bright. He really has stayed with me as a friend even in his passing. I think about Tim often, and he still lives large in my life.